It's time for a chime video. It's hard to imagine that it's been almost 5 years since I made a video almost exactly like this one's going to be. 5 years ago, I made a video about having replacement springs made for NuTone K-model door chimes, and in that video, Harvey was sitting on a sack of springs just like he is today. For those of you who don't know, this is Harvey. He's our shop mascot, and he's also the executive producer of all of our videos. And in the video 5 years ago, he was sitting on a sack of springs much like this one, holding this exact same screwdriver. He's hung on to the screwdriver all of those years for sentimental reasons. He says he wanted to reappear with it in this video, sort of a sequel to the original video, which he thought was a really good idea. 5 years ago, in the original video, which I'll put one of those pop-up things up here that you can go to and watch if you want, I talked about the reasons why we had these springs made. These are the springs that fit NuTone K-model door chimes. It's a little hard to see in the video always because it's so small. We had those made for a variety of reasons, primarily so that we would be able to repair NuTone K-model chimes for our customers and have a supply of springs, which simply made my life a lot simpler. These are not K-model springs. These are springs for NuTone L, LA, LB model chimes, the chimes that were made between approximately 1957 and about 2010. The reason I decided to have these springs made was pretty much the same reasons that we had the K-model chime springs made. As often as I have cautioned people about being careful on not losing the springs when they're working on or servicing their NuTone chimes, people always seem to manage to lose at least a few. And any supply of replacement springs that we had have been used up. So about a month ago, I contacted the same company that made the K-model chimes. I sent them a pristine example of an L model chime spring, which is what we're going to call these because it's L, LA, LB. They're all the same. They looked at it and said, yeah, sure, we can make those, no problem. So I had them make, instead of last time we had 1,100 springs made, this time I had them make 2,000 springs. Because when you order something custom made like that, usually the more you buy, the less they cost, and that's a better deal for everybody. So let's take a look at one of these springs up close, and you can see what the differences are. We're going to use this one right here. In this close-up view, you can see the two different springs. The long spring right here is the spring for a K-model chime, and the newer, shorter spring here are for the L, LA, and LB model chimes. Roughly speaking, the short spring is about a little more than half the length of the K-model chime spring. It's the same basic diameter as this one. The coils have a different spacing. The coils are spaced a little further apart than on this one. And on each end, like the other K-model chime spring, you have what are called the dead coils. The dead coils are the compressed coils at the ends that allow the spring to sit in the solenoid bore on the flange at the front of the bore and on top of the edge of the plunger behind it, so the spring doesn't push out of the hole in the solenoid or slide down onto the body of the plunger itself. So these springs are exact duplicates of the original springs that NuTone used on all of those chimes made between about 1957 and around 2010. We had a lot of the L model chime springs made, more than the K model chimes, although we've had the K model chime springs made a couple times since the original batch. These were both made by the same company. I did find out in talking to the fellow at the spring company that they could possibly have been the company that made the springs for NuTone originally. They're in Kentucky, and he said actually if they look out their office windows, they can see over the Ohio River and see Cincinnati off in the distance. He did also say that back in the 50s and 60s, there were probably 4 or 5 other companies in the Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky area that made springs, so they didn't know whether or not they were the company that made them originally, because all of those records, like most old records in every place, they were either lost in a flood or a fire or something like that probably, but he didn't really know. But he said it's possible that they could have been the company. Now that we've talked about springs, Harvey says we need to show you how springs are made. And oddly enough, springs are not made the way you would think that they're made. They're made by a machine that makes springs. Now, this is a little short video that the spring manufacturer made for us. It's not for the springs for the L model chimes because while they did make a video about that, it was such poor quality that I can't put it on here because you can't tell what's going on. So this is a clip of the machine that made the K model chime springs. They're made exactly the same way. These are just longer, so if you really pay attention, you'll go, hey, those are longer. It's not the same spring. No, it's not. It's a K model spring, but the L model springs were made on exactly the same machine in exactly the same way. I just think it's interesting. So there you have it. We have newly made replacement springs for NuTone L model or L, LB, LA, all those L model chimes that NuTone made. We have them available. We've already sent out sets of them and they seem to work really well. I have been using them in the chimes that we service and repair here. They're exact matches and they work really well. I hope you found this interesting and hopefully for someone it will be helpful. If it is, give it a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps us just a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.